Okay, welcome everybody to the CAG meeting of November 30th, 2023. My name is Catherine Archuleta and I'm the facilitator for the evening tonight. We have three agenda items and there we go. The first agenda item that we have that Beth will walk us through is the Washington Area CAG 2023 year-end review to go over the number of projects that began, some that were midpoint, and excuse me, some that are going into construction in 2023. And Beth will provide that. We also want to seek some feedback and talk about how we want to gather that feedback, and then finally really begin to think about how we head into 2024 as more of the projects move into construction. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Beth for the year-end review.
Okay, great. Okay, well, let's just kind of get into it. We just wanted to do a high level, quick summary of things. So go ahead. So this is our growing map, and you can see that it is now oriented, horizontally. So you might have to just take a minute. Washington is there running, what appears to be east-west, but really the north is on this end of the map. So we were having trouble fitting it all the other directions. So this really helps to outline all the things that are underway, from, the Globeville Levee to Heron Pond to Washington and 51st, the 48th Avenue Greenway, the future park at Pearl and 44th, Lincoln Underpass, 44th and Broadway, and all the way south, at least toward the end of the improvements to the levee. So this is kind of our picture of the world coming out of 2023, and this will be posted on the website so you can spend a little more time with it. And happy to always keep this up to date and adding as we go. So you'll notice that it highlights the construction dates as well, and some of those are to be determined, but it gives you a rundown on where things are and what's coming on each of these projects. Okay, so right now at the end of 2023, we have 12 active projects in the area. And I do think it's important to call these out because that is a lot of projects for one area. So again, the levee, of course, in various phases. The levee phase 2 is in final design now. That's the segment north of I-70, essentially. And levee phase 3 is south of I-70 and will kind of come back to life next year. Carpio Sanguinetti Park is moving into design of the park itself, which is super exciting. 51st Avenue and Bridge, we'll talk about in a sec. Future Betty Cram is in design, not funded at the moment, but still in design and moving that direction. 48th Avenue Greenway, the portion from Washington east to the river and the new outfall is at 100% design, and we'll be heading into some construction here in the next year or so. Washington Street is in a similar space. They will be at 100% come, end of January. So that is all but there. And 51st Avenue realignment is part of that. And then we have a couple new projects that have come to life in 2023. And that is the I-70 Lincoln Underpass, which is pedestrian improvements and lighting. 44th and Pearl Park is the opportunity to move into design and implementation of a new park there at 44th and Pearl, which is agreed to, but not going into effect quite yet. And then we have pedestrian improvements going in across 44th and with a new bridge and ramp, or new stair and ramp container down to 44th all the way past Broadway there. So that is also in finished final design, and we'll be moving into construction. So those are all happening at the same time in this one area of town. So let's just bump ahead real quickly. And I want to just point out that there are a few that have actually finished. So of those 12 projects, there's really only a couple that are finished. So we are we're in for some change over the next year or two as well as we go forward. So recognizing that 51st Avenue included the implementation of the new stormwater system and infrastructure there, and has been repaved and is completed. Emerson Street repaving should have been completed at this point. And of course, 51st Avenue Bridge went in. So those were the big completion projects, and everything else is still ongoing. So this is kind of, I'm going to move this part of my screen, sorry. So 75%, we kind of did some benefits assessment, and 75% of the 12 projects that are underway in the area include stormwater improvements, which is very beneficial and we definitely need. 75% also include tree canopy or landscape improvements. 100% address pedestrian mobility. 75% address bicycle connectivity, and 33% specifically call out pedestrian lighting. So overall, I think that about 100% are designed to address connectivity throughout the community. So those are some good benefits for all the work that's underway. And then just so that we're all on the same page and kind of setting us up for the next part of this is, what did we do for outreach this year? And then we're going to ask you how you feel about it and where you really like to go in 2024. But just a quick reminder, we held 6 CAG meetings, so essentially every other month in theory. January, March, June, September, October, and this last one in November. And at those various CAG online meetings, we covered a range of projects, anything from 1 to 4 projects, and we kind of kept speed with those 12 projects that are out there. We also had public meetings and individual engagement opportunities. So virtual office hours were held. We had some focus groups on the Washington Street design. We held public meetings in February, April, and July. So some of them had a particular emphasis on Washington design, but they all included multiple projects, those 3 in particular, or those 2 in particular, in February and July. And so those were our opportunities to get together with people in person. And then we had some other events that went on where we hosted tables or project information, the riverfront opening and the trunk or treat. So these were supported in great length by OCBE. So that is kind of what we did this year to address those 12 projects and their progress. And so maybe with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but we also would like to ask you then for some feedback on the last year, and then we'll get to where should we go. Chris, you're welcome to jump in on this piece unless you want me to just kind of keep going.
Yeah, no, I think our goal with that first segment was, like Beth mentioned, to really give you an understanding of all of the different meetings and outreach, as well as kind of the topics that were covered, including projects, so that folks who weren't necessarily able to attend every one of our meetings, which I know folks are busy, so want to make sure that we're just giving that full understanding, and then jumping into really what worked, what didn't work, what could use improvement, or other areas where we might be able to innovate as well. So we can start back again with that first question. So that first question is, did you feel you were able to communicate with the Office of Community and Business Engagement, which is the office that I belong to, and Rebecca, and kind of facilitates these CAGs on the projects that you were interested in for the year?
Listen, I just want to encourage anybody who's listening to this tape, if you're seeing it online, to take the contact information that will be visible in these presentations and give feedback in response to this and other questions to us, OCBE or any of the connections. It's the holiday season. There's a lot of folks that are not even in Globeville right now that would possibly normally be participating in this. And it's an important question. So please make note of the contacts as we go through this and follow up if you can.
Thank you, AE. Maybe we can move to the next slide then. And asking these same sorts of questions, right, Chris?
Yeah, so we just kind of have a growing understanding that, you know, at the stage of the project life cycle that many of these projects are in, we've kind of hit a little bit of a lull in terms of kind of substantive engagement with community in terms of getting feedback. And as folks, or as these projects move into implementation and construction and into their really final stages, we just want to make sure that we're planning for meeting community needs and wants in terms of the information that's shared, the kind of frequency of engagements that we program, and just making sure that, you know, we're using your all's time effectively, because we know people take time out of their busy days to come to these meetings or listen to the content. And we're wondering if we might be able to meet community needs better with different methods that we haven't necessarily tried yet. So our first question here is, what would compel you to attend meetings more often? The examples that are given are childcare, location, timing, format of meetings, anything that might kind of compel you or interest you in the content that it's shared here.
In person or Zoom is another question that perhaps there may be some opinions about what's more convenient in terms of accessing information. Is it more convenient to come to a meeting, or is it more access the meeting? Is it more convenient to access from your own home through a Zoom? So maybe moving to the next set of questions.
If I may, I would like to add something in response to this. How
Sure.
can we improve accessibility information? Convenience is fine, but I think that we all need to think out here what puts us in touch with each other in a process that is truly an engaged process where neighbors have bridges to each other. So the format and the whether it's Zoom or in person, I think there's a real discussion that needs to happen about the in-person and the Zoom combinations. And it is an ongoing discussion, and it can enter into this process as we go into the next year. So let's not just talk about convenience, which is important, but deepening what this process is so that it does create more relationships among folks and kind of extends it into a more sort of tangible, hands-on and interwoven feeling of engagement out here in the conversations in the neighborhoods and with the designers and that kind of thing. So just something to think about how we can make that happen.
Thank you, AE, for those comments.
Yeah.
Chris, do you want to move to the next slide?
Yeah, and just to preface the next slide, we have been noticing kind of a lull in attendance at these meetings as well. And we want to make sure that the information is accessible, that it's easy to understand, and it's the type of information that you'd like to be hearing about. And we've been kind of brainstorming what might meet kind of both our objective, which is to get as much information and education about these projects that are moving into implementation in the near future, into the hands and minds and conversations of community members in GES, while also respecting the time and energy of folks, both on the Dottie side of the spectrum, and then also on the community side. So we have just kind of brainstormed a few different ideas that we've had for engagement that we haven't necessarily tried here yet, but would love to kind of get your initial impressions, or also if you have any other ideas for engagement that you might like to see or might be beneficial to folks, not just the folks who kind of attend CAG meetings on a regular basis, but the entire neighborhood, just kind of keeping in mind that moving forward, these projects are going to have community impacts that are going to be felt just a little bit more tangibly, because when you have a traffic cone obstructing the road, it just is a different type of interaction with these projects. And I'll read the slide as well for folks who might have visual impairments. So the first idea is individual meetings. The second is quarterly virtual CAG meetings, shifting to that quarterly meeting frequency instead of monthly, as we are doing now. I will say with that, we still want to make sure that we maintain the level of access to project managers and to engagement staff. So just want to caveat that. So there's that point. And then the third point is quarterly e-newsletter updates that we could develop like really strong email distribution groups for, to try to get the information that's up to date and relevant to folks who don't necessarily attend these CAGs frequently. And then the next one is Dottie projects represented at already scheduled community events and meetings. So again, just really focusing on meeting community members where they're at in community organized events. And I think that there's a lot of potential there for like meaningful information sharing and question answering and that kind of area. And then the fifth idea that we have on the slide is quarterly in-person focused pop-up events. So that looks a lot like, you know, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had an open air kind of convening of the different Dottie project managers and project teams, as well as community members, and kind of invite folks to come and just circulate around to different tables and project areas to have just a little bit more of like a one-on-one conversation with project managers where you can get your questions answered. And also, I think this can look like a lot of different things. I mean, it could be showing up at the rec center or pool with a table and just information, contact information, and a good project overview and schedule to kind of snag folks while they're you know, on their way to exercise or go to a class. So that can take a lot of different forms, but just want to get your initial impressions and any other ideas. And again, that this will kind of, we'll be collecting input more widely as well.
Chris, do you mind clarifying just quickly on number 1 what you mean by individual meetings?
Yeah, so this means kind of like making sure that people have access both to project managers to request kind of information, but also to the public involvement consultants on these specific projects. So thinking about folks like Nora with NHN who's on the call, Beth obviously with OV. I know that there will be kind of community representatives for a lot of the projects in the area, including some of the private developers as well and the affordable housing developers. So kind of making sure that there's one-on-one access when needed, and that includes to myself as well.
So if individuals have ideas about this, they can contact you personally, or they can send you an email, correct, Chris?
Yeah, so we'll be following up to this meeting, and we'll be sending out a survey to collect this type of feedback on the content and just characteristics of the meetings that we've hosted this year, but then also asking for ideas, engagement ideas for next year. And folks are always welcome to give me a call or email me, and we'll be responsive that way as well.
Any comments or questions about this part of the agenda? I think we've probably reached the end of our agenda. Chris, is there others? A virtual CAG to be announced in January of 2024.
Yeah, so we'll be planning on getting that survey out towards the beginning of next week to the CAG email distribution list. And we would really appreciate anyone's help in kind of forwarding that survey or kind of promoting that survey to their respective organizations or groups, schools, anything like that. And we'll be working hard on outreach as well to try to collect as much information as possible. And then we'll be kind of taking that information and looking at it, and we'll come back at the beginning of next year in January to kind of share out what we heard and also think about what and kind of decide with the CAG members themselves, like what will work best in 2024 to meet their needs and the community's needs broadly moving forward. So keep an eye out for that email. And then also one very important announcement, Catherine, this is your last meeting with the
CAG.
Community Advisory Group, right?
Yes, it's been my pleasure.
Yeah, so just want to just express all of our appreciation for how masterfully you facilitate these meetings, and it's not always easy to interface between like really technical information and community members, and you do it so well.
You're very kind. Thank you. It's been my
fun.
pleasure and honor to be part of this group. Community engagement is the heartbeat of any city. Really does provide the impact, the feedback and understanding and information that elected leaders and appointed leaders need to really make a city hum as well as it can. So I really appreciate being a part of it, and thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, we'll definitely miss you.
Chris, for any folks who might be listening and maybe aren't on the email list, do you mind just spelling out or saying out your email?
Yeah, sure. So my email is Christopher, spelled the common way, CHRISTOPHER .Callinan, and that's Charlie Alpha Lima Lima Alpha November Alpha November. I had to learn that a long time ago, at denvergov.org. So DENVER.org. And again, that's the full email is christopher.callanan@denvergov.org.
Okay,
Yeah.
so giving back some of your time. Thank you all for being here this evening. Really appreciate it. Again, this meeting has been recorded and is available on the website, and hope others will be able to learn more about what 23 looked like, and looking forward to 24. Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris and
Other
Catherine.
colleagues
Have a
as
great
well.
night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.